Today we're going to finish up the story of 1 Samuel chapter 1. It's about a woman by the name of Hannah. She had no children. She prayed that God would give her a child, and she was encouraged by the words of Eli, so much so that she was able to put her grief behind her and go forward believing that God was going to answer her prayer. And we learn, starting with verse number 19 of 1 Samuel, that God did answer that prayer. God gave her a child. And that's what the rest of chapter 1 is about. How that God had answered that prayer, that Hannah couldn't even speak with words. As she laid there before the Lord and wept bitterly, God answered the prayer of her heart. Today I want to focus particularly, though, on verses 26 through 28. And we see her response to what the Lord did for her. And she said, "O my Lord, as you live, my Lord, I am the woman who was standing here in your presence praying to the Lord." So what's happened is she and her family had gone home. They came back now, and she is speaking to Eli, that priest who had encouraged her when she was praying for a child. And she, remember, when she prayed, had made a vow. Here's what she says in verse 27. "For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition that I made to him. Therefore, I have lent him to the Lord as long as he lives. He is lent to the Lord." And he worshiped the Lord there. So here we see that after long years of waiting, God has blessed Hannah with this child. And how does she respond? She responds by giving that child to the Lord. That she would do something just very unique. That she would literally bring him back to Eli at the temple and say, "Eli, I am turning my son over to you because I made a vow to God. I promised God that if he would give me a child, I would dedicate that child to him for his entire life." That's a big ask, isn't it? She asked God for a child, and yet God asked her to do something. She believed that it was God's will for her to dedicate that child to the Lord, and she did. I want to encourage you today with these verses and remind you that it's important that we keep our promises with God. I know this is unusual circumstances, and God wouldn't normally expect us to do something like this with our children. But in a sense, shouldn't we give all that we have to the Lord? In a sense, shouldn't we give God all the promises, the vows that we've made to him? So think back in your life. Is there some vow that you've made to God, or some vow you need to make to God that you need to fulfill? When you make a promise to God, make sure you do your part to fulfill it.